So you've all signed up for level 3 training for the council. This isn't Google training, it's not certified or anything like that. We've tried to target it very much towards what's useful for education in Scotland. And we're going to be doing about hyperdocs today. I'll tell you a little bit more about that. We're going to have some breakout rooms, 3 breakout rooms, not the 2, because we've now got 12 people in total. And there will be a task, work-related task for next week, hopefully, at the end. So you are technically, or you've said that you're fairly confident with most of the G Suite tools. Might not be all of them, but you reckon that you can, use most of them. But you're really looking to use them in a more context basis now. So develop your skills and really see what they can do for you within your remit and role. And your remit could be admin, it could be a PSA, or it could be just class teacher or a faculty head. We're in session 1 here, so we're going to be doing digital documents. Next week, we're going on to using slides and multimedia slides. The week after is going to be, I think this is the wrong order. Anyway, I think next week is the slides. The week after is using Sheets and Google Forms. And then finally, we pull the whole thing together, including sites, and pull it all together so you can really, not only you show off your work, but also your pupils and your learners can. What you're going to get from this is obviously sessions like this, but you will get support in terms of if you email me or Taus Laurie at Inches Primary School is the person who developed the course. Both of us are Google certified trainers, and we're really keen that people in Highland get the most from these amazing set of tools that we are lucky enough to have. And boy, oh boy, compared to some people around the country, we are spectacularly lucky with the 1 device per child, and also the G Suite, which is better than Microsoft stuff any day of the week. I've just been on a Microsoft training session from physics, and it was it's tricky by comparison. Very good, but tricky. And it's this sort of, is it efficient for us? Is it actually going to give value? Is it going to help our outcomes? And hopefully you should go away inspired so that you will actually want to get, if you're in a larger department, to get other people on board and help them with these skills. Maybe they're only doing the level 1 or level 2 training. So what is a hyperdoc? Well, it's something which acts as a pivot for all these other things that you can do with the internet. All your Google Sites, Forms, YouTube, Google Sheets, Google Maps, everything can go into this hyperdoc. And hyper is because way back in the birth of the internet, the protocol is called Hypertext Transfer Protocol, secure. That's why you've got HTTPS there. So everything on the internet is supposed to be linked. And Google Docs, because it originated as a browser-based document system, is ideally placed to make the most of this. These are the questions that you answered in the questionnaire. A lot of people have been used to using websites on documents. We'll do a little bit on that there. Very few people are used to using tables of contents or linking to other parts in a document. And a lot of people are linking to YouTube videos. I'll show you a little bit more about that. But then it's this idea of going to other areas of the same doc or using drawing frames. And I think once we get to drawing frames quite soon, you'll go, so that's how I can do a text box. Okay, next bit. These are some of the comments that people came in with from the questionnaire. And I'm not sure if there's anybody in this group that said they want to know how to put sound files on a locked Google form, but Taus and I are still scratching our head about that one. We're not sure how we would do that. I'm not sure if it's possible. But generally, some really good questions there. Some things we can solve, some things there's other alternatives too, but we'll come back to most of those at some point. So a hyperdoc is something that collects links in one place. It gives you value by using those links, and it could be a route to giving a lot of other opportunities. So I'm just going to take you through 3 different documents and how they would be used. And I'm just going to stop sharing my screen, this tab. I'm just going to go back to sharing my whole screen because it's a lot easier in this case if I use my screen. So just while I pause for breath, there are only questions just so far. Okay, everybody's so bamboozled already. We'll just keep going. It is going to be quite rapid.
Sorry, Martin.
Yes,
sorry,
yeah.
I put a question in the chat.
All
Are
right,
you
okay.
going to share these slides with us, or should we take?
Absolutely. This will all go on the Google Classroom. You've got the Google Classroom set up, and the slides will be set up. All these sub-documents, everything will be on there just after I finish.
Right,
Okay.
cool. Thank you.
Yeah, and that Google Classroom will act as a. I'll come back to that, but that'll be a way for us to share the sort of things that we do, not just as documents, but because there's only 12 of you, we can actually have everybody on as teachers. You can actually share them in terms of assignments, which is much more useful. Okay then. So you're seeing my screen. Angus, what are you seeing at the moment? Is it just my black screen?
Yeah, I can see your copy of the Google Meet.
Yeah, but we're not. Let's just try this again here. Right. Okay. I think we'll go. In Google Meet actually has this facility to share a Chrome tab, which is actually better because it reduces your bandwidth, and it actually gives a clear image on the audience's screens. So we're back to this here, and it also picks up your system sound as well. So when I'm playing some videos later on, you should be able to hear what's going on as well as see it. So first one is just say in terms of humdrum admin. So if we click on that, and say if you've got a list of all these documents which we've now got electronically rather than a notice board or a filing cabinet, you can just list them all by where your handbook is, where your latest standards and quality report is, all the sorts of things that say if you were getting inspected tomorrow, you could just go straight into this and you would know exactly where everything is. Similarly, it saves your department coming up and constantly saying, where's that? Where's that copy of that? So put everything in your Google Docs, put the link down there, and then it just simplifies things. So that's just a very straightforward use there. Just to remind you that to get a link, you just copy and paste whatever's in the address bar of your browser, be it Internet Explorer or Chrome, and you copy that and then just do Control-V or edit and paste it in. The other thing you can do is if you've got the link in your copy clipboard, you can just highlight the text that you want and then do Insert and Link, and also Control-K would do that for you. Paste in the link, then the text appears and you don't see this ugly URL or the website address. So it just tidies up your links there. That's another way to do that. So that's the most basic way of just sharing websites. I'm going to show you now a lab report we would ask first years to do. A lot of these examples are going to be science-based. You'll just have to bear with me on that, but I'm hoping that they'll be applicable across a range of subject areas. We made the decision to split it into primary and secondary because subject areas are how secondaries tick, and the level of demand is obviously a little bit higher. So what I've got here is a blank report template for people to write in their report, and I've given them here a photograph with some labels, and they've got to add in more labels. This is where the drawing frame comes in. So as I click on that, you can see that I've now got what you'd be used to in Microsoft Office of being able to move text boxes around and create text boxes and arrows and things like that. So that's how you get to that in Google Docs. And it's quite nice. Instead of people having to draw a bit on paper and then take a photograph of it, they can use that. So you access the drawing by going into Insert, Drawing, and then New Drawing, and you get that frame from New. The other thing you can do is pre-populate that. For instance, again with science experiment, I've got one here that's got all these bits of scientific apparatus which I've drawn, but then grouped them together, and so you can then move them around, and basically the pupils can build up their own experimental report diagram and then label it using the graphics. Okay, so that's linking to, and you can have different drawing files. Google Drawing is an app that you can do things in a little bit more space, but that's just linking to the drawing frame there. The other thing which is useful is the way that you can link to different Google Docs, and in this case to a Google Sheet. Here's a results table ready to go, and you can see it's linked. It says it's got linked table. So if we do that and we say we're going to open up the source of where the results came from, and we get this Google Sheet coming up. Google Sheets is obviously the Excel in the G Suite family. And so somebody's put in their results table. They've put all the numbers in from the experiment that they did in school. I don't know if you can remember what it was like to be in a school. It was noisy. There was lots of children. And that's the graph that they've drawn there, or rather the Google Sheets has drawn. They've just done insert graph, and we'll come back to how useful this is in a couple of weeks. So there's the graph that they've got ready to put into their results. So that all they would do is just do copy chart, go back to their write-up, and then we'll copy and paste the graph in there. So edit and paste, and then whatever's on the clipboard, which in this case is the graph, and it can be linked. So that means that even if they change the results, the points would change on the graph. And that's something that you're not going to get Excel or Microsoft Word to do. So this is a live copy of what's in that, and that's what we mean by a linked document. Whatever happens in one document is happening in the other. Okay, then. So back to that there. I'm just going to pause for breath again, just to see if there's any questions before we move on.
I just think that's a really interesting way of doing it, linking the two. Because
you're a science teacher, Angus. You're going to be fascinated by this kind of stuff. Everybody else is thinking, when are we going to get at something a little bit more wordy?
I've been doing exactly the same thing with my pupils, but they've not been linked. I can see the advantage because they can just put the results straight into the sheet, and it will populate the table, and it will update the graph, all linked up. I guess the disadvantage is they go and play with the data in the Google Sheet, and then change something, it's automatically going to change it in their full-on report. So I don't know. I can see both. I can see perspectives of why it's good, why it's bad.
Sorry, I'll just go back to that. So you can ask it to update or not. You see the little link chart options with the chain.
Mm-hmm.
If you can unlink it, or you can ask it to update, because it won't update automatically.
Okay.
Okay. Okay then, and the last one is not that. So the last one is a sort of worksheet or an assignment that I've got, which we made up for our third years. This has got a lot of features now, so this is going to take a little bit longer to explain, because this is where we get into how rich this whole business can be. On this one here, again, you'll get a copy on the classroom. I've used comments down the side here to illustrate some of the points that I've got here, so you can go back over it. If you don't know about comments in Google Docs, if you highlight some text and then do insert and comment, there is a Command Option M that you can use. That's where you can type in maybe a feedback for learner or something like that. So that's how I generally use comments when I'm doing giving back feedback, just by adding a comment rather than replying on the doc. So I've put these in here just so you can look back at them. First feature is that we've got here a table of contents, and if I click on any of these bits here, then I can actually go straight to that page with that particular bit. So if I want to go straight to Space Probe Research, click on that, and it takes me straight to that page, that part in the document. It's not so essential for a 4-page document, but it could get useful if you've got a whole scheme of work that you want to work between there. And I'll come back to how you set that up later on. But that's just to show one way of moving around the document. So that's just a website, a link to the space station channel. Google Forms quizzes are one thing which I wouldn't recommend setting up as a link in a document, because the way that Google Classroom sets up quizzes is it assigns a whole new quiz to that classroom if it's part of the assignment. So I would separate those out and have them as a separate part to your assignment. And it could be that somebody's stuck if, how to get onto the Google form, especially if you've got kids with additional needs. So what I've got here is a short video clip from Screencastify. If you haven't used Screencastify, it's well worth getting into. But so if somebody was stuck, they would just click on that. There's the link, and it opens up in a new tab with something which I recorded on Screencastify. And then it should open the Google form. You go to your assignment page here, click on the form, watch the video, and then answer the questions. When you're finished, you submit your form, and we'll get the marks from there. So we're finding that quite useful for some kids with additional needs who are, if we're finding with using assignments across a whole year group that some kids are getting stuck at the same point, and we're putting in a little sort of how-to tutorial like that, and it's just enough to get them over the hump of getting stuck there. Sometimes we're looking for responses in a worksheet, and you can either just give a space for them, but it's sometimes easier if you've got a box to fill in which case just using a 1-by-1 table as a text box means that, and then you can color highlight it so that it appears yellow, and it's obvious for the teacher when they're marking it so there's the highlighting. You can highlight the text box even before there's any text in it, and it just makes it easier to pick out what the pupils' answers are, because we're going to be doing a lot of this marking online, I'm sure. Next page is they had to pick out a couple of different space probes, and instead of just listing them, I've given the Wikipedia entry for each one. So each one of them, when they click on it, they can go and start their research just by getting onto Wikipedia. Again, the fewer barriers, the more obvious it is for pupils to know where to go to, then the more chance you've got of a successful outcome from your assignment. If they're asked to make up a set of Google Slides, again, probably setting this up in the assignment saying make a Google slide for each student is better than putting a link in the document, because the link will just then send to the same for the same slide, so they'll end up trying to edit the same one. So they've got to go and find up one there. And again, what you can do is they'll give an example slide, and you can set it up so you can force them to make a copy just in a way that you set up the shortcut where the word edit appears, and you can actually replace that word edit with copy in the shortcut, in the link for the document. But that's something I only found out yesterday myself from TAS. But that's what we're looking for from them for this part of the assignment, that slide, and they go on and do that there. Don't worry, we're nearly through it. Nearly through it. This is a nice feature of this here, that the say if we try and make sure that they don't spend any more than an hour and a half for BGE on an assignment. So if they're running out of time, we've said then you can go to the last part, this exit ticket. And if they press on exit ticket there, that takes them bookmark right down to the bottom here, and then they get to skip the last bit if they've been taking a long time to do that. So what's happened is that we've got a little bookmark symbol, that little flag, that sort of, well, it looks like a bookmark, funny enough. So you can click on something, any particular word, do insert bookmark. And so we've now got that bookmark where it says assignment. If we go back up here where I was before, and I could say, or the very end. And then I can insert another bookmark. Or sorry, I can say insert a link, which will then link to a bookmark. And the bookmark can be to the very end. Or where was it? Okay, so that would then take them to the where I just clicked on that last bit at the end there of this assignment. So that's ways to move around and navigate around the document using bookmarks if you've got a longer document. That's just a website which shows you where the International Space Station is. And I put this in, I know it's just a website, but the nice thing is that it's a live view. And I think that's one of the nice things about being able to offer links to websites. It's of something which is actually changing with time. And so it's very fresh, and it means that your assignments are really up to date, where you could have news sites and things like that. So, you know, having a freshly updated site or a live webcam is really useful. Just to point out, I'm always keen to reference things that I've got off other people's websites so that we're not done for a copyright violation. This one is using Google Maps, and probably the most extreme version of Google Maps is up to the space station itself. So you can actually go for a walk around the space station using Google Maps. And as they go around the space station, there's various things you've got to find out what they are and a little bit more information about it there. So it's a bit like seen from a science fiction film. Okay then, nearly done. So the other thing is, if you want them to watch a video, obviously you can just insert a link to that. But here I just want them to watch 20 seconds of the launch of the SpaceX probe. And you can see in the link that I've got, at the end of the link, it says T equals 118. Okay, and that means that when we go into that YouTube clip, it doesn't start at the start.
4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Lift.
It starts at the actual bit where we want them to watch that
5,
2 minutes in.
4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff of the Falcon.
Okay, so it means that if there's 5 or 10 minutes that you don't want them to watch, you can basically fast forward. The last thing is that we've got here, I've got an image of the Apollo 13 badge here, and if you wanted them to watch that film, you could either give them the link with the text, or you can actually put a hyperlink on an image. So if you've done insert image and got an image from the internet or from your computer, and there's your image, and then you can actually do insert link or control K and then put your hyperlink there for the image as well. It means that when they click on the image, then it takes them to the Wikipedia page for Apollo 13, things like that there. Okay, going to finish off now, and we're going on to a Jamboard. I don't know if you've used Google Jamboard, but that means that they're going to have a chance to put what they've found out on basically on sticky notes on the board here. So I'm going to share this with you on the text chat, and you'll get the chance to put the stickies on just to say what you personally have found useful from this session so far. To put a sticky note on, you just click on sticky note, write what you want, and it appears on the board there. So this is just coming in the chat just now. So all you need to do is click on that link from the chat, and you should find that that Jamboard appears in a different tab, and then you can start to, we should see your sticky notes appearing. Well done, Hannah, you're first in, closely followed by everybody else. Well done.
Is that Jamboard a Google Suite thing?
It is, and that's the advantage. There's various things do something similar, but because it's a Google G Suite product, it actually links really well with everything.
Right.
It doesn't have as many features. I know that Kirsty is very keen on Mural, but yeah, it costs money in the end, and also it's, yeah, it doesn't dovetail in as well. So everybody's in. You just need to start putting something on. I'm just gonna, while you're doing that, get the breakout rooms ready. If anybody's stuck with the Jamboard, just ask me. one thing when you're doing Jamboard, you've got to make sure it's available to anybody in the Handle Council area for posting on. It doesn't automatically make the access with Google Classroom. I'm not seeing anything appearing on it at the moment. Does anybody think they've posted anything on, but I can't see it?
I posted one.
Oh, maybe it's on the first. Ah, right. Okay, it's all appearing on the. I think I've given the link to the first page, which is from the first group. Anyway, that's fine. Okay, that's you see, I'm learning. I'm learning now. All right. Okay. Good.
Sorry, Martin. When you have that and you're
Yeah.
like the owner of that, do you see who's posted things, or is it all
No,
anonymous?
it doesn't have that transparency.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I would be cautious with it with first and second years, otherwise they'll just put up rude comments.
Okay. Okay.
It doesn't have the edit history down like a Google Doc does or something like that. We've used it with seniors very well. It kind of gets over the idea of a live lesson, which we don't do, and I don't think we should do. But it allows them just to informally share ideas over the space of a day or something like that there.
So Martin, has your whole department created their schemes of work like this, or is this a relatively new thing?
We're trying to, because certainly in physics, this is the default for a physics assignment, and most of the other sciences are producing something similar, where it's fairly rich. The advantage is it brings everything together, and kids are less likely to have to go through 3 or 4 different things. It just gives, and it also allows the teacher just to have one document just to run through, and so we've got only one document to review. It's all in one place.
Mm-hmm. It looks amazing.
Well, it's handy. I'll tell you, that's why I like it. So let's just go back to the Jamboard. So yeah, I mean, there's some really good points there, and I think it's generally people are finding this quite useful there. Screencastify can go up to YouTube. Every Highland Council teacher has a YouTube account ready to go. You just need to initialize it. Okay, I'm going to go back to that assignment document before we'll go into the breakout rooms. So I said that we could make table of contents. Say if I want a new part of the table of contents, which is movie time. At the moment, movie time, hang on, forgot to share my tab. Here we go. Right, so at the moment, movie time is just in normal text. If I pull that down and make it heading 2, I don't know if you've used styles much before in Microsoft Office or Microsoft Word. Now that that's made a style, all these other headings are in subheading 2 style. And if I go up to the top, and if I now refresh update the table of contents there, it will then put that in now, because that's part of the subheadings. So what you can do is, if I get rid of the table of contents completely, you've got 2 options. You can go insert table of contents, then you can either go with page numbers or just with blue hyperlinks. Let's just pop in a table of contents that got blue hyperlinks. So anything that's got that subheading 2 now appears up at the top. What I generally do is just copy and paste that into my Google Classroom instructions or description box, and it just summarizes what's involved with the assignment so the kids know how much time to spend on things. And we also use points in rubrics as well.